This is the What I Need podcast, a shared journey exploring topics of society, spirituality, and even ways of being. Here, we speak freely and fully, from the heart and the conscious mind, in hopes to find what we need. Thank you, for your time is valuable and you could have been anywhere else in the universe. All of you are welcomed and appreciated here.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the What I Need podcast. I am thankful for my well-being, and I am thankful for the well-being of others. You know how we do, taking a moment of mindfulness, even in our intro here on the show. I do that just to allow us to have a chance here to breathe and feel all right. There's oftentimes so many things going on in the world and our lives, and again, we just don't simply sometimes stop and take a moment to realize, hey, you know what, I'm good, and I hope everybody else is good. So anyway, welcome back. Today I'm bringing you just a short, humble little episode. I don't want to take too long, but what was I going to say? This is all unscripted today, just because I'm going to go off the top. I wanted to talk about routines, affirmations, consistency. You know, with everything, as I mentioned, constantly going on, ever since everything started, ever since creation began, we have been in motion. We have been on the move collectively, everybody and everything. And that's a lot sometimes. Sometimes things are going up, sometimes things are going down, sometimes we're going through something. And it can be a lot. So we find we need some kind of constitution, some kind of self-constitution. And what I mean by constitution, I mean a center point of functioning, something that we know we're going to do, something that we know we're going to intentionalize, some starting point where we know we're starting our day from this. We may not know what's going to happen throughout the day. We certainly aren't in control of what is going to happen, although we may think we are at times. We really are not. So many people may take up on their faith. They may take up on their self-belief. They may take up in areas of routine that generate a sort of inertia, a forward motion. When I speak of inertia, you may think of yourself getting in the car and driving and pressing on the gas pedal. Well, before you stop, you have to slow down because there's what they call centrifugal force that has been created, and that has to be slowed down before it comes to a stop. It can't just stop. So when we think of this by way of our motivation, our determination, our goals that we want to reach, we can create a centrifugal force within ourselves, one that cannot just be stopped all of a sudden by the goings on of opposing forces or obstacles that we may encounter. And what I was finding for myself is that, I had came up against some of these situations, some of them self-created, probably all of them or most of them self-created, because we create a lot of our own um, situations to go through via our choices and via our point of view, via our actions, what we do. And we want to have an institution, we want to have a personal constitution of where are we starting from. So I found that, you know, through my own practicing of affirmations, morning meditation, morning prayer, that it turns out to be a great benefit to creating that inertia so that when the something happens, when the obstacle happens, when the doubtful moment happens, you can kind of just push on through that. You can kind of steamroll through those obstacles because you have created a momentum of positive thoughts, gratitude, prayer into the higher realms, to the Most High, however you call it, um, that support you. And it does, I guess it's, somewhat of a testimony. These things do work. These personal, uh-oh, these personal, these personal institutions. We have a cat that's a little bit of a baby's kid. You'll have to ignore that. Um, aren't they all though? Anyway, cats. So when we make these personal resolutions or institutions, keeping up with our affirmation, keeping up with our, gratitude practices, keeping up with our prayer, if that's what you do, and they're all an option. On this show, I like to bring forward, all of the positivity that I can, all of the positive reinforcement that I can, because there's already enough things out there in the world that will sway us this way, sway us that way, push us and pull us. So we have to have something within ourselves that is resolute to our highest good. You want to sow into your highest good. It's no joke. I mean, we don't, there's yeah, this is life, and there's sometimes, not to scare anybody, but there's sometimes room for bad to happen. We may have gone through a situation, and also bad. Sometimes we go through a bad situation, but we went through it, and we found on the other side, oh wow, I learned a lot from that. I pulled a lot of information out of that situation, and now I'm actually better and stronger because I went through the situation. So I always present that as well, so that we are not so scared of having to go through. But what often can help us get through is really sticking to that morning practice, sticking to going to the gym, sticking to saying your affirmations in the morning, saying I'm grateful for my job. I'm grateful that I have a home to stay in. I'm grateful that my mind is functioning and I'm able to, pull it together. And when we take time to acknowledge that and take time to put our focus there, I just want to let you know and reinforce and re-encourage and reinvigorate that you're practicing in that way. It does work and it does help you out. It's not just a little bit. It really helps out in a major way. And how could I give an example of that? Sometimes when I've hit a low moment and I'm just like maybe frustrated, or something happened that put my mood in a lower perspective. What I noticed is that when I just go ahead and continue with my routine, like no matter what happened the other day or last night, even if you went out, let's say even if you went out to the bar and you were just a mess or whatever, or you had an argument with a family member, or you didn't do so well on a test, you know, um, any of those scenarios and anything else. When you wake up in the morning, or even the day, the day of, before you go to sleep, if you just still stay true to your practice, whatever it is, whether you're doing your affirmations, whether you're doing your gratitude, whether you're doing your prayer, whether you're doing your sacred solitude of meditation, and you just stick with it. And I gave the example of going to the gym. I gave that example of going to the gym because that, if we want to build muscle, if we want to build strength, what do? We continue that routine of going to the gym, and physically we begin to lean out, we begin to gain muscle, we begin to change the shape of our body, we begin to look in the mirror and be like, okay, you know what I'm saying, like, so um this happens psychologically, this happens spiritually, this happens in your determination, because when you are remaining solid in your routine and in your practice, you're strengthening those non-physical muscles, and it's not always easy, actually, to just continue no matter what. Especially when you've been knocked off your square, you feel, oh man, I don't feel like doing it today. Today was a shit day, and I just don't feel like it. And when you skip those times, you inherently do yourself a disservice, because you are not putting yourself back on your square. You're not recentering yourself back to the Constitution, back to the instituted value that helps you. So, in my examples, on those days that have been harder, that I've just gone ahead and said, you know what, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to do my mantras. I'm going to do my affirmations. I'm super spiritual and faithful, highly blessed and favored. So, I'm doing my my spiritual work and my affirmative psychological work. You know, the line of psychology, spirituality is very thin. Some may say it's one and the same, that your psychology and your spirituality, they're riding in the same vehicle. And that vehicle is your practice. That vehicle is, what do you do? What work do you do to maintain? And if you're not doing no work to maintain, you probably experience a lot of ups and downs, and you just feel like everything is out of control because you don't put yourself back on. You got to put yourself on. Put yourself on. Especially in the time frames where something has tried to knock you off. And that's really all of the message that I wanted to bring today, is just that it does work. I find for myself that it does work. And to just give, a brief testimony to that, staying and maintaining with your practice of affirmation, gratitude, meditation, prayer. Any of the above, individually or collectively, per whatever you feel comfortable with, whatever you feel works for you. Here on this show, we're not here to judge. We're not here to force you into anything. Just here to inform that what I have found in my own personal experience. And if it can help you, if it can, confirm or be like, you know what? That Carlton guy was saying the very same thing. I was kind of thinking that, but I wasn't sure. So if it brings any, confirmation, if it brings any validation to you today, that is what I wanted to say to you, is just continue, even on the difficult days, strengthening those unseen muscles, those metaphysical muscles, and you will see the value in staying centered in what centers you. You will see the value in the rebound and the bounce back that you need to continue amongst all the goings on. Again, there's just so much day to day that I can't even name all the things that go on. I can't even name all of the traffic situations, that you may have some road rage. You had a great mood when you left the house, and then somebody cut you off, and then you're just pissed off. You could end up carrying that with you the rest of the day and just having a bad attitude. Or you can take a moment and you'd be like, you know what? I'm just grateful I made it to work safe. I could have rear-ended that person. And then you have now switched that annoying ass situation into a form of gratitude that you are just have made it there safe. Your car's not all bashed in. You don't got anything to, issues or anything. And it's just as simple as that. It is just as simple as that. Taking that moment to, instead of carrying a moment of heightened, aggravation, that we take a moment to actually flip and transmute that aggravation into thankfulness. See how it works for you. See how it changes and strengthens your attitude. Because when you maintain an attitude of gratitude, you just get more, baby. You get more and more of what it is that you're happy for, what it is that you are glad that you got. And that's a very powerful thing. So I thank you for joining us today on this short episode of the What I Need podcast. This has been your host, King Carlton, and we'll see you next time.